We've made it to week 4. This week's topic is called Embodied. In week 4, we're going to play with trying to get your body in sync and in frequency with the vibration of self-love. How we're going to do that is with 2 exercises. One is going to be an active meditation that you're going to do every single day for the next week. And the second one is something you're going to ask yourself as much as possible throughout the day, every day for the next week. This is actually one of my favorite exercises to do, and I do this once or twice a year for 2 weeks or up to 30 days. And one of my favorite exercises to give my clients as they're on their journey through self-love. So even though you're doing this for a week's time, I really encourage you to go longer than that. At least 2 weeks, if not up to 30 days, up to a month. And the reason why is that the longer you do this, the more and more ingrained it gets into your system, and the more the body has a chance to match the vibration and frequency of self-love. So let's get into the first exercise. This exercise I coin as the water exercise, but I know different spiritual teachers have different versions, different definitions, and different ways of doing this exercise. This one in particular comes from Teal Swan, and I've done this many times, enough to know that I see a difference and an effect on me. So it's something that I actually give to my clients and to people I work with outside of that. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to get a glass of water and you're going to fill it up with plain water, distilled, purified. It really doesn't matter, but the higher quality, the better. And you're going to keep this at your bedside before going to bed. So when you wake up, you have a fresh glass of water to drink. Then right when you wake up, you're going to grab your glass of water that should be ready for you by your bedside. Hold it in your hands and close your eyes. From then, you're going to start to envision things that you absolutely love that really expand your heart space. Stay clear from people, so no boyfriend or family members or nothing like that, because with people, things get very slippery when it comes to annoyances, things that they haven't done, or just resentfulness. So what I suggest instead is to think of animals and pets. That's a really good way to get into heart space, or places in nature, places in your home that really create a sense of peace, serenity, calmness, and then also things that you like to do, whether that's cooking or baking or certain hobbies that you feel really good in that really get you into space of just loving life. Now you're going to keep thinking of these things for as long as you can. And the point that you're really trying to get at is that moment in time, that apex period where you're just feeling it in your physical body. You feel it in your heart. It literally feels like you're actually doing the activity, or you're at that place, or you're playing with your pet, or just loving on an animal. And you need to have a physical reaction. So for example, I think of my dog Blake, and I think of just kissing him on his face and feeling his fur against my face and lips, and that gets my salivary glands activated. And I know it sounds funny, but for me, that's what works, and that's the space that I want to be in for as long as possible. Now, once you feel like your body's in that space and you've done it for long enough, so maybe a minute or two, maybe for a lot longer, and then from there on, you're going to grab your glass and you're going to drink the water. And I want you to finish all of that water. Now, while we drink the water is so we can train the body to be in the vibration of love, of heart space, of expansion. The idea here with this exercise, and I think this is actually a cool one, is that your body is made mostly of water. And that water holds frequency very well. Water is a very special property. It's the only element on Earth that holds 3 states, which is ice, which is a solid, gas, and liquid. No other element can do that. And so water is very special, and that's why in all religions and all spiritualities, water is held so dear, it's so sacred and so holy. So what you're doing with this water, as you're thinking of all the things that you love that create a sense of expansion and a loving space, is that as you're holding it, you're unconsciously sending vibrations and frequency of that same energy into the water. And water is very pliable when it comes to frequency. And so the frequency of the water is going to start changing as you do this for longer. And then you're drinking it, which is then entraining the water in your body to be in the frequency of love as well. So what you're really doing is you're almost tricking the body to be self-loving without even having to think about loving yourself. The truth is, when we're in a place of self-hate instead of self-love, it's really hard to even think about loving yourself. It's really hard to think about standing in front of a mirror and saying a positive affirmation about yourself in general. For me, it was really difficult to stand in a mirror in the beginning and say, I love myself. That was just not in my vibrational match. And by saying that actually to myself when I wasn't in that space, it only made me feel worse. So this is a really great way to think about love, because the things that you love about other things, whether it's an animal or place, nature, that is a reflection of yourself, right? So you don't even have to think about yourself. You can be in the place of self-deprecation or self-hate, whatever you want to call it. And the more and more you do this exercise, the more the body is just going to be entrained unconsciously. That's the fun thing about this exercise and why I really enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it too. So moving on to the next exercise. This one is going to be a little bit more difficult, and I've done this again different times through the year for different lengths of time. But this one is difficult, and I will say it's like also difficult for me to do, but that's why I'm going to give it to you in the last week. It's kind of that last exercise that if you feel really compelled to do this for longer, again, at least a week, if not more than that, I really encourage you. So the exercise is this: anytime throughout the day, for as much time as you can remember, you're going to ask yourself, what would someone who loved themselves do? This is another one that comes from Teal Swan, and this again is something that I've done many times. And for that being said, I think it's really effective because it really gets the brain thinking in different ways about what is self-love anyways? What does it look like? How is it embodied? What does it look like in other people? And how do I emulate that? I really feel as if this one statement, what would someone who loved themselves do, can be your mantra for the year, especially if self-love is something you're after and you're actively pursuing it. It's the intention for the year. So to recap for week 4, the first exercise is the water exercise. And the second one is to ask yourself as much as possible, what would someone who loved themselves do? I really believe by the end of this month, especially if you've been doing all the exercises, that you are a step closer, if not more, to self-love. I've been on that journey. I've done all these exercises and I still do them. And each time I do them, I learn something new about myself. And I really do feel my heart opening to loving myself, but also loving other people and just being in more flow and acceptance. So I really hope this helps you. Please leave comments, send me a shout out, email me on your results and how you're feeling, especially after this challenge is over. I thank you so much for being on this journey with me. I'll see you soon.